What's up, everybody? Metal Dave, along with my co-host Jason McMaster, bringing you another episode of the Talk Louder podcast. Today, we are joined by Steve Conte, guitar player for the Michael Monroe Band. He also spent a number of years with the New York Dolls. He's got a prolific solo career. His new album is called The Concrete Jangle. Yes, Jangle. The Concrete Jangle. He's got a new single out, and he's on Wicked Cool Records, the label owned by Little Steven Van Zandt from Bruce Springsteen fame and Sopranos, I guess. Yeah, he's that guy as well.
Well, yeah.
So
Silvio.
Yeah.
He works for Silvio.
That's frightening.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But Steve, anyone who knows me knows I'm a huge fan of the Michael Monroe Band. They've put out 5 albums in recent years, and they've all been stellar. Steve has been the constant guitar player on all 5 of those albums. He's a terrific songwriter, lyricist. He's much more than just the guy that plays a few bar chords. He's quite the songwriter, quite the lyricist, and that band has rotated some guitar players in and out. Ginger from the Wild Hearts was in the band. Dragon from Backyard Babies was in the band. And Rich Jones from Black Halos is currently in the band with Steve. So Steve has been the one constant, and the records are fantastic. If you haven't heard the last 5 Michael Monroe records, go check them out. And apparently they're hard at work on the next one. So Steve's a busy man. He's got a solo career. He's got the Michael Monroe stuff. And of course, we had to pick his brain about the New York Dolls and a bunch of other things.
He's got a new single out.
Yeah.
We like it.
We like it. That's correct.
We like it. No, that's the name of the song. Yeah. We like it.
We like it. And it's called We Like It. Yeah.
And it's got cameos on the backup vocals. It's got some people. I mean, as soon as I saw Danko Jones in there, I was like, all right, I'm cool with this guy.
Yeah.
That's all I needed to see was Danko in there, and I was cool.
Yeah.
But it's cool. It's very, there's a lot going on. I don't just hear dirty rock and roll. You know, I hear boogie and it's very classic. It's sounding. It's not just, I mean, you could put a horn section over it, like you would hear a horn section in a Rolling Stones tune or something.
Sure. Yeah.
And that seems to be his forte.
Yeah.
Which makes sense that he works with Michael Monroe, because Michael Monroe plays the saxophone and it's very Stonesy. If the Stones were a big band punk band, you know, jazz punk rock band, you know, I don't know. Anyway, I learned a lot from hanging out with Steve today. And we were just, I have to end with this or jump into this. Me and Dave were just kind of jiving and shooting the shit here before we press record for this intro. I learned a lot hanging with Steve Conte today. And this was one where going in and reading Steve's bio to quote fingers, prepare for this, which I don't really prepare for anything. I did read through everything, and there was a lot of like aha moments and stuff. Me and Dave have this thing that we don't really talk about, and I brought it up that we don't really talk about it. So I guess in reality, we're talking about it right now with you, the listener.
Yeah.
That Steve, this interview was what I call one of Dave's. Yeah. And like when, I don't know, Gene Hoglan is on here, Gene was one of Jason's, and I'll just follow Jason's lead. And we've never talked about it until right fucking now that we walk away from the text message going, hey, I just booked so-and-so. Hey, I just booked so-and-so. And I might even walk away going, sounds familiar, but who the fuck is that? Okay, I'll just follow Dave's lead. So, this was one of Dave's. And we were laughing about that. In at the end of a fucking awesome episode on the Talk Louder podcast with Steve Conte, where going into it, I was like, yeah, but not like dumbing it down, just because it's one of Dave's quote fingers.
Yeah.
And I was along for the ride. Oh, this will be cool. I'll learn a lot. And meaning I usually won't have a lot of questions or jump in and going, oh, I have that record and that, but I did have a few things to add.
Yeah.
And I'm not patting myself on the back. I'm just saying it was one of Dave's and I learned a lot, and it was great. And he was great. And I was kind of, enamored with him. He's a really cool rock and roll personality.
Totally.
Very East Coast, all about, if you don't even need to see a picture when I say East Coast dirty rock and roll singer, songwriter, guitar player, and he plays with Mike Monroe, and he was in the New York Dolls 2.0, and he knows Cheetah Chrome motherfucker, and he has worked with all Sylvain, blah blah blah. You already know what he looks like, what he smells like, and what he sounds like.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm just saying, I'm just cheerleading this episode. I had a fucking blast hanging out with Steve today. So
yeah, absolutely. It's so funny that that you bring this up and we're talking about it, because we've been doing this podcast for 3.5 years, and you and I have never had this conversation before. But I guarantee you, just like you said, there's times I shoot you a text and I go, "Hey, I just booked so and so," and I'm sure you're shaking your head, going, "Okay, whatever." And then
right, who the fuck is that? Okay, whatever.
You do the same to me, and I go walking away. It's one of Jason's metal dudes. I don't know who this guy is, whatever. But I'll just follow along. And we've done it to each other. I've walked away from some episodes that you've booked, and I've just been like, wow, that dude was super cool. And I learned so much, and I've got a whole new respect for him. And you've done the same with some of the guests that I've booked. So it works, people. Somehow it works,
Yeah, before we get into the interview here with Steve Conte, I want to do a shout out to Mark Moots, who displayed to me a screenshot of his Spotify account with the Talk Louder, account open, and it says something weird like, quote, unplayed, unquote, something. And what that means, and he had to explain, I'm like, what am I looking at? I don't even use Spotify, but what does this mean? And he had to explain. He says, it means I've watched every episode or listened to every episode on my Spotify account that you guys have ever made. Well, that's like 200 episodes for 3 years of podcasting, releasing at least one a week for 3 years.
Yeah.
And he's listened to every single minute of me and Dave be dumb.
Yeah, I was going to say, is he a glutton for punishment or what?
Well, my response to him immediately was, time on your hands?
Yeah.
Time on your hands? And his response was, I believe, something like, I listen to it in the car on my way to work. I listen to it while I'm tattooing. I listen to it while I'm, So it just kind of goes to show that one man's junk is another man's treasure. So thank you to Mark Moots for putting up with the torture that is the Talk Louder podcast. But I wanted to come up with, and you guys kind of, I don't know, Jared, our producer, seemed to be into it, but I almost feel like, and I'm stealing this idea from the Danko Jones podcast, that if you're on the show more than, or if you're on the show 3 times, you get a patch. And the patch doesn't say, I was on the Danko Jones show 3 times, but I've been on the Danko Jones 3 times, and he sent me a patch, and he, so I, and the patch is cool. And I just wanted to do a Talk Louder patch for people like Mark Moots, who he wasn't trying to prove anything other than he just goes, hey, man, hurry up and make some more. Because I've listened to all of them. And it was just really weird and very cool at the same time. So at least I can I don't have a patch for people who can prove to us that they've listened to every episode.
Yeah.
But a shout out we'll have to do now. So
yeah, And a shout out on my behalf. Mark has also sent us some of his records. He has a band called Weight of the Tide. So go check that out if you're interested. It's metal. It's heavy.
This is I believe the second record,
I think,
and then the new one is the third record, I thought.
Yeah, the thing he sent us the other day is the upcoming third one that comes out in September, I believe.
Yeah, it's not out yet, so don't get too excited.
Yeah, but there are previous releases. The band's called Weight of the Tide. Mark Moots, we thank you so much for listening to every single episode. You are
What is wrong with you, bro? No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, you might want to seek some medical help for that, but we do appreciate it.
Well, the guy's cool as hell and supports the show, so we appreciate that very much.
Right on.
For what it's worth.
Yeah. Well, without further ado, man, we got a great episode today with Steve Conte. It's a great episode. We learned so much. We appreciated his time. We thank him for joining us. Here he is today, Steve Conte on the Talk Louder podcast.
That's me. I'm a little fuzzy around the edges.
Right. I was going to say rock and roll is fuzzy around the edges, if I remember correctly.
It's already 5 o'clock, so, I'm enjoying a beverage here.
There you go. Well, man, thanks for joining us today. I'm a huge fan. Our audience is going to know you mostly for your work with Michael Monroe and the New York Dolls, but that's only a fraction of your career, and I want to talk about as much of it as we can. And let's start with the timely stuff. You've got a new single and a new video. The song is called We Like It, off of your album, The Concrete Jangle. Clever play on words there, Steve.
Thank you for getting that correct. You don't know how many people have said The Concrete Jungle. Yeah. That's what it would be if I wanted to name it the same old thing that everyone else named their album.
And the Rickenbacker is a bit of a clue as well.
It's a clue if you're in the know, but a lot of people aren't in the know. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, your single,
thank you.
Yeah, the single and the video. Special guests on that video. We've had a lot of them on this show. We've had Tommy Price and
right on.
The Black Halos and
Danko Jones.
Danko Jones. We love Danko.
Is Tommy in the video?
I don't think he's in the video.
No, because singing Ian Hunter, Michael Imperioli, some big names that I wasn't able to get for the video. I mean, actually, it's kind of good that I couldn't get them all because there's only 15 times that we say, yeah, we like it. And I already had to gang up sometimes 3 or 4 people in one screen at the same time. I would have never been able to fit everybody. There's like 60 people that sing on it.
Yeah. Well, I think that's a testament to your vast circle of friends and musical connections. So
I hope so.
Yeah, it's a great song too. Nice guy. It's kind of got a glam rock sort of backbeat, and it's a bit of a stomper, and it's obviously memorable right off the bat. So tell us a little bit about you could start with that song or just the album as a whole. I know the album you wrote about half of it with your songwriting hero, Andy Partridge.
That's right.
Andy Partridge from XTC. How long have you known him, and how did this songwriting collaboration come about?
I met, let's see, going all the way back to the early 2000s, we had a mutual friend who built guitars for him and who repaired my guitars in New York. And when I heard that my friend Dennis Fano, he makes guitars called Fano guitars, which now he's sold, and now it's called Novo guitars. But he was making an acoustic for Andy. I said, "You're kidding me." I said, "You got to give Andy my latest record. I think he'd really love it." It was an album I did with my brother called Bleed Together, and we were calling ourselves the Contes.
Right.
And it was a very adventurous musically kind of thing. Went from like psycho Billy garage to like jazz lounge. It was really creative, underrated, and I think it should be re-released now.
Yeah.
But anyway, Andy really liked the album, but we weren't personally in touch. I got messages back through my friend, and then it wasn't until I joined the New York Dolls and started, I became friends with Steve Lillywhite, producer, who had done two XTC albums, Black Sea and Drums and Wires. And we were chatting one day on Twitter, and we roped Andy into the conversation, and Andy said, hey, you stole my dream gig. I wanted to be the guitarist in New York Dolls. And I went, I had no idea. That's really wild. And we just started chatting after that, and sending each other private messages. And then I was coming through his town of Swindon in England with Alice Cooper. I was on the road with Michael Monroe. We were opening for Alice. And Andy said, I hear you'll be in my shithole town. I'll buy you lunch. And I was like, yes. So we that day, Andy came pick me up at the arena. We went out. We had lunch. I came back. I played the show with Michael, and then I jumped on stage with Alice and did School's Out. So what a day that was.
Man, that's good.
And it was like hanging out with an old friend. I mean, we had never been in each other's presence before, but we knew enough about each other. I was a huge fan of his. I don't know what he thought about my music besides that one album years before. But yeah, we just got along really great. And then he started giving me really great write-ups and reviews and quotes for my next couple albums. I think it was Bronx Cheer and also Steve Conte NYC.
Yeah.
And then I asked him point blank, I said, would you like to write my next single for me for Wicked Cool Records? And he said, well, it's not a no, but I sort of swore off writing with other people. And I said, well, not a no is encouraging. So I ran away and whipped up this track that I thought he'd really like. And I sent it to him, and he was like, it's great, but it sounds too finished. He goes, why don't we start something from scratch?
Wow.
And he said, let's do a Zoom. I said, great. And we were supposed to write one song, and we ended up doing a bunch of Zooms and writing 8 songs.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So when you're writing with one of your heroes like that, and you're an accomplished songwriter yourself. What do you learn from Andy when you're having these sessions?
Oh my God, man. I mean, completely different approach to songwriting than I have.
Okay.
I've tried to like figure out how to make it natural to me, but it's really his unique thing. He hears music as colors and pictures.
Wow.
So when he hears a riff, like we were writing one of the songs, and he played this chord, and he went, ooh, sounds like a bell. And we kept playing it, and dang, and he's like, one last bell is, he just came out with the, okay, wow, it's a song about a bell, and what's the bell mean? And, and then we, you get a hook, you get a title, you get a vibe for what the song is, sounds like, and then you write it from there. So we're like, well, what does the bell stand for? It stands for truth and freedom, and, this bell is going to usher in a new era of truth and out with the old misinformation. And, this is hopefully, of course.
Yeah, yeah.
Who knows what's really going to happen, but that was our wish.
Yeah.
So that's just one example of how he, he's a painter and an artist. So he really thinks visually and hears visually, I more or less, if I have a piece of music first, sometimes, I'll go through 100 different, lyrics and hooks until I find one that clicks,
Yeah.
And I'm kind of like putting things together rather than, what does this sound like? Does this sound like a cucumber, or whatever? I mean, I don't think like that. So, it's really unique.
It's really cool that you could, Zoom, be in a room, whatever, with someone you have that much respect for, and walk away going, holy shit, and like learn, because there's not one way to write a song. Yeah. And that, and he knows that, and just to like, even to like soak up the way that someone else who you respect does it probably can help you. And has it helped you as a writer, like just moving forward on your own shit?
Oh yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
and you know, even on the same album, I mean, I had to, you know, we wrote 5 songs. We wrote all the songs on side A. So tracks 1 through 5. And I didn't arrange it this way on purpose to put all the Conte Partridge. He insisted that my name go first, by the way, which is very humble of him. But I didn't like put those first, like, okay, here's the great songwriter stuff first. It just worked out that way. And as I was arranging the album, what felt good going from one thing to another, I was like, oh, look at that. All the Partridge Conte songs are on one side. But I had to pick 5 other songs of mine that would go along with those. And I picked a couple of older ones, Girl with No Name and Motor City Love Machine were both from the 80s. I mean, I wrote them 40 years ago.
Wow.
Motor City Love Machine had updated lyrics. It was called something else back then. But, you know, he raised the bar for me. So I was like, I can't have no shabby songs on side 2.
Right.
And actually, some people who've listened to the album said, you know, I thought that was one of Andy's, you know, your second side stuff. And
Okay.
wow, I like your stuff as much as the you and Andy stuff. And I was like, God, you know, that's a huge compliment.
Wow.
But even in the songs I was writing with him, people have said, oh, that line must be Andy's. And like, no, it's actually mine. You know, like some weird lyrics that I thought I would never be able to get into a song, like Quasimodo and oligarch. And there's some really strange words, a pyromaniac, you know, like I would never try and put those words in, but I played it for him. I was like, Andy's going to hate these because they're too weird. And of course, who am I thinking is too weird? Andy Partridge is a fucking weird songwriter and a great weird songwriter.
Not specific to what you're telling us now, but when you're writing lyrics, do you have, like, I have just stacks of notes everywhere, and I go through them all the fucking time. They're fucking here we go. It's the same shit. Yeah, same shit. Yeah,
Binders
exactly.
on top of binders on top of binders.
Do
I don't even see them anymore.
This is only the top layer in my drawer.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. I got the same disease, man.
There's 100 of these.
Yeah.
You know?
So
and cassettes. Cassette, you know, look at this. 90-minute cassettes from you know the 80s, 90s. You know,
That's just from this morning, right?
Yeah, the pandemic was good for one thing: me going through all of that stacks of cassettes and keep and throw. Anyway, what I was getting at, that's hilarious. What I was getting at is, do you, when you're, you know, you hear something or something pops up and that's a cool word or that's a weird phrase, and I'm going to try to get that in a song one day. Do you find it hard, just whether you're working with Andy or outside collab or not? Do you find it that I'm going to, you know, I'm going to try really hard to get Quasimodo in a song, you know, or is it?
No, it was never that
okay,
conscious, but you know, thank God for this.
Yeah. Notes on his phone.
Notes
on
like
your
invaluable. It like syncs to my computer at home. So like if I'm working on something at home, I just write everything in notes now.
Yeah.
And then when I'm on the train or in the car or out and I don't have my computer with me, I got everything from my lyric writing here on my phone too, and I can update, and updates at home and
great.
But no, there wasn't a conscious, like, I'm going to write some weird shit, you know? It was just like, it came out at the time, and I went, ooh, Andy's probably going to nix that one, you know? And he didn't. And I'm like, of course he didn't, because he likes weird shit.
So when you're working...
But, you know, if I wasn't writing it with Andy, I might have said, oh, I can't put that word in.
Right.
Because I don't, you know...
I would get excited.
I'm conscious of being too weird. You know what I mean?
I get excited when I finally figured out a way I can put, you know.
Oh yeah.
I get excited when I figure out a way to get something weird I've always wanted to wow, I used a new word instead of the same shit all the time, you know?
Yeah. I mean, there's a song I have, Gimme Gimme Rockaway. I don't know if you know my last album.
I
but,
saw that on your stuff.
You know, there's I always wanted to get the town Sheepshead Bay into a song. It's always been a funny part of Queens, New York. And, you know, I always laughed at it when I was a kid. Sheepshead Bay. Yeah. And I got it into a song. I was like,
nice.
You know, every time I play the song, I just love shouting at Sheepshead Bay when I'm like playing live, you know.
Getting landmarks from growing up, I think, in your lyrics has always been a really cool thing. And I mean,
Penny Lane, Strawberry Fields.
Perfect.
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
Perfect.
Did you notice at any point during your writing with Andy, was there ever a time where you felt like he learned something from you?
Yeah, he, well, I don't know if he would say it that way, but, you know, there's a quote that he gave me for the album. He said, I hate Steve Conte. He's got more hair than me. He's a better guitar player than me. And I tried to ruin his new record by writing it with him, but it didn't work. It's great. So, you know, something like that, I'm paraphrasing.
That's a PR pitch right there.
Pretty good.
But he respects my guitar playing because, you know, he's like a self-taught, like, he's a great guitar player, but, you know, in a non-traditional kind of way. Like, I've learned to play in so many different bags and styles because I've had to. I'm only you know, Andy's had a career as being Andy Partridge his whole life. Right. Songwriter, singer, guitar player for XTC and solo. He hasn't had to like go play a freaking wedding or a country gig or a R&B cover band. You know, I've had to do all kinds of different things. So I'm like well versed in a lot of different styles. You know, I play funk and soul and blues and country and folk and jazz and, you know. So, you know, so I you know, he respects that about me. I played him one of my like bebop jazz songs that I wrote back when I was like studying bebop pretty hard. And he went, "You can play that? I never knew you could do that." He goes, "Why are you messing with mere pop music with your kind of musicianship?" And I was like, "Because I love to write songs, man." You know,
yeah.
I didn't want to, you know, I studied real hard at jazz for like 5 or 10 years, somewhere in there. And you know, I realized I don't want to starve just playing jazz. I mean, I love dressing up and having my hair freaky and, you know, writing songs and singing and being crazy on stage. And, you know, I'm gonna put a suit on and play my little jazz gigs, you know?
Yeah.
Although I love the music, you know, I've listened to Pat Metheny and John Schofield and Wes Montgomery, and there's some of my favorite music ever is jazz stuff.
Well, you got to put on your rapscallion uniform like you described and go play jazz.
Yeah, well, I've believe me, I've been racking my brain how to bridge those two worlds for decades now.
It can be done. You got it in you.
I wanted to have you on the show. I started, you know, going down the rabbit hole, and I got stuck on Bronx Cheer, man. That is a great record. In fact, I tried to buy it off your website, and it said it was sold out. So then I went and I looked somewhere else just before we started this conversation today. That was last night, and I looked somewhere else, and I found it available elsewhere. And I may have this wrong. It might be available on your website and wasn't available in the first place. But the fact of the matter is, at some point, it sold out of somewhere. And I wasn't surprised because it's a really good record. And I found it to be like, it's got a lot of garage rock and a lot of soul and a lot of grit. And there's a lot of, I noticed your songwriting style, your lyrics lend themselves to like storytelling and building characters and things like that. And I get all that. I love to hear music visually, like you were saying earlier about Andy.
It's all right.
Yeah, it's okay.
Hey, dude.
That's my little boy.
Hey, dude.
Bring him in.
It's totally fine. Hey, dude.
Hey, buddy.
That's Baz. He just came back from the pool.
Hey, Baz.
Welcome, buddy.
How you doing, buddy?
All right. I'll see you in a little while, okay?
Yeah, we're all good with that kind of
Yeah,
stuff.
we've had
Pets,
pets,
cats,
we've had-
dogs, kids,
Got kids and pets.
chickens.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Yeah. But
Anyway, I'm sorry,
Bronx,
Dave. I didn't.
All
no,
good.
Bronx
Bronx
Cheer.
Cheer, yeah.
What a
Yeah.
collection.
Oh, yeah. Lyrics and stories and characters. Yeah.
Yeah.
Any particular song you're thinking
You
of?
know, I like Recovery Doll. Was that the title?
Yeah.
Yeah, that one. And My Degeneration and Dog Days of Summer. And the one that I really liked that was kind of a little separate from the rest, in my opinion, was Guilty. Because Guilty kind of had like a real moody vibe to it or something. There was something about that song. But the whole album as a collection is fantastic.
Oh, thank you. Well, some of them are autobiographical. Guilty is about, an old girlfriend. Totally happened, and so is My Degeneration. That's kind of the story of my growing up in suburban New Jersey and driving into Manhattan to, cop pills and other stuff at the park,
Yeah.
and then trying to drive home after doing them. Not a very wise thing. I don't suggest that to anyone, but those kind of songs. It's a bit of a cautionary tale, and I actually say in there, I go, what is it? One of my favorite lines I've ever written, actually. If I could get a refund on my misspent youth, I wouldn't change a thing. I'm better for it. That's the truth.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Nice.
A lot of stuff is just, written from true situations. And like Recovery Doll, I was thinking about, I like to make like composites of people, so it's not only about one person.
Right.
And sometimes I'll purposely change it if I think it's too close to like, oh, this person's going to know it's about them. Then I'll make it a guy instead of a girl, or a girl instead of a guy. Or I was thinking about Sylvain. I was thinking about Thunders. And it was my wish for them. It didn't work in their cases. They all succumbed to the addictions, but that was my wish, that they were going to get over it.
Yeah, still with us.
There was another one you mentioned, Dog Days of Summer. That's just kind of every kid.
Sure.
Going back to school, and then those last couple of days of August, oh boy, school's going to start. But actually, it could be a fun thing. You're going to the Gap and buying new jeans, and the Gap back when I was a kid was like actual Levi's. It wasn't,
Yeah, we remember.
it wasn't like Gap. It was Levi Strauss. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, I can't recommend that album enough. Anyone watching or listening, if you haven't delved into Steve's solo career, I would say start with Bronx Cheer, because I love it. It's just got it's kind of got a little Tom Petty and a little, there's something, it's not soul music, but the music has soul.
Yeah. Well, my favorite singers have always been soul singers. I mean, obviously the black singers like Marvin Gaye and Stevie Wonder and Sly Stone, and then like white soul singers like Rod Stewart and Paul Rodgers and Steve Marriott.
Yeah.
I'm not much of a punk screamer, although
Yeah.
I like the music to have like punk energy sometimes. But I remember one guy getting in my face at a gig and going, "That's not punk. You're not singing punk." I'm like, "Yeah, I'm not a punk singer, dude."
Is there a story behind the title Bronx Cheer? Isn't that New York slang for something, or?
Well, Bronx Cheer is a,
Ah, okay.
And I live in the Bronx.
Okay.
And it just so happens that the kid on the album is in protest of, now I don't want to get too political here. I don't know where anybody's leaning, but that picture is a kid protesting with a bunch of other high school students protesting the election of Donald Trump in Manhattan.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
Fifth Avenue.
All right.
2016.
Actual photo.
Yeah, an actual photo. Yeah, I had to blur out some of the kids because they didn't give me permission. But the main kid gave me permission. And I saw that photo in New York Magazine. I went, wow, that's my cover right there. I looked up the photographer. I found him. We worked
Nice.
that deal, and
Wow.
Nice.
Wow.
Good
Well, it's
work.
a great record. Let's talk about your time in the New York Dolls. You mentioned earlier, you said that Andy said that you stole his dream gig, and I was thinking to myself, you stole everybody's dream gig. Everybody wanted to be Johnny Thunders in the New York Dolls. So, and you got the gig. How did that come about?
there was no audition. There was no cattle call. No, like, David asked a couple of well-respected guitarists that he knew that he was working with in New York. I'm putting the Dolls back together for one gig. He said, who should I call? And everybody told him the same thing. They said, call Conte. Don't call anybody else. He's the right guy. He's got the right look, nose, the hair, Gibsons, Marshalls,
Yeah.
Italian, so like Genzali, Thunders.
Yeah.
So, but it really, he's not a junkie fuck up. So,
Right. He might stick around.
yeah. So, David called. I actually knew he was going to call because one of the guys who recommended me called and said, Steve, I just gave your number to David Johansen. This guy, Larry Saltzman, great guitar player in New York. So I just gave your name to David, and also Jimmy Vivino from the Conan show, the Max Weinberg 7.
Yeah.
He gave David my name and number, and they told me, I gave your number to David. He's going to be calling you. And sure enough, phone rang, and he's like, Steve, it's David Johansen.
That's pretty good.
Meet up. And so we went, we had lunch, and we only talked. We just gabbed for an hour.
David Johansen eats.
What's that? Yeah, he actually eats.
He eats.
I think he had half a cantaloupe, and I don't remember what I had, but I remember there was cantaloupe involved.
Okay.
And it was at a place called the Cosmic Coffee Shop, which was around the corner from where he was living on the Upper West Side. And after an hour of chatting, he went, well, I took the liberty of making this, and he threw this envelope on the table. I took the liberty of making this package for you. It's got CDs and charts, and what do you think? You want to do this gig? And I was like, hell yeah. So we thought it was one gig at the Royal Festival Hall. And we walked outside the restaurant, and all of a sudden there were like all these music people just like happened to be walking towards the diner there, and they saw me and David Johansen. They're like, what's going on here? I was like, and speculation started, brewing, and the next thing I knew, it was out there,
Yeah.
The guy, and he never even heard a note of my play. Well, he probably researched me on the internet. He probably like looked at YouTube and listened to my records, and okay, the guy can play.
Or he just saw the nose and the hair.
Well, I think it had a lot to do with the personality because we talked for quite a while, and
No, obviously, you're a capable musician.
But it is true. You can creep on anybody now.
Yeah, I know you could.
What do you mean by that?
So anybody can go, so and so, and go look you up and watch videos. Find out where you live and all that shit.
Creep, stalk,
creep, yeah.
So I remember the Dolls play. I'm in Austin, Texas. Jason is right outside of Austin. So we're in Austin, Texas. I remember you played South by Southwest at Stubbs, I think.
Love that town. Love that place.
And it was
I made my first record there in 1989, Company of Wolves.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you made that in Austin?
Mercury. Yeah, we recorded in Austin at Studio D.
Yeah.
Which was where the Georgia Satellites recorded their stuff, and I used Rick's and Dan's high watts and Marshalls, and we used their producer, and it was a whole company and
cool.
Georgia Satellites
I might have that record around here somewhere.
Had no idea.
See, you have a few behind you.
Yeah, well, this the landfill behind me. Yeah, no, the good shit's over there somewhere.
But I remember that gig. It was like the buzzed about show in town. And, so me and my buddies, we went and we saw you, and it was amazing.
That would have been in San Antonio, or did you see it here, Dave?
I saw it here at Stubbs.
Oh, cool.
Oh,
Oh,
Stubbs.
the dolls, the dolls.
Yeah,
not
that's when
company
David
employees.
said, is that the very first one where David said, we're looking for a record deal on stage?
I think so. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And yeah, I think we played a couple of new songs because we had just started writing songs. We played one of mine called Punishing World.
Yeah, yeah, and of course you had Sammy Yaffa in the band. So when you first joined the Dolls, did you play that first gig with Arthur Kane?
Yes.
Okay, so you did.
Yeah, when I joined the Dolls, it was me, Arthur, David, Sylvain, and Brian Delaney, and Brian Coonan, who was David's like musical director from his Buster Poindexter days. He was really a guitar player, but David put him on keyboards because he also played piano. He had him there just kind of to be the musical director in case, things went wrong.
Yeah.
But we didn't really need him because, everybody was good enough. And
Well,
then we ended up, having a completely different lineup for the, we had a different drummer for the Morrissey shows in London. We had Gary Powell from the Libertines on drums. And then when we came back to the States, Brian Delaney rejoined the band. But Arthur was there from day one. And, I told him the story of how the Dolls' first drummer, Billy Murcia, the story of how he died.
yeah,
The band even came out. He died in a bathtub.
in England, right?
Anthrax, and he like drowned or something. And I think people tried to pour coffee down his throat and he drowned from the coffee or something. But anyway, I told Arthur that Billy's family moved into my town in New Jersey where I was grown up. And this guy, Alphonse Murcia, used to follow me around going, "Hey man, you look like Johnny Thunders." I'd be like, "Who?" I was a kid. He was like, "Johnny Thunders, New York Dolls, Heartbreakers." I had no idea. So he brought all the records over to my house. Sylvain, the Criminals, Thunders, the Heartbreakers, the Dolls. He brought the Bowie album, Aladdin Sane, where Bowie talks about Billy Doll on the album. And so like I grew up with this guy, the brother of the Dolls drummer. And I told Arthur this, and Arthur was like, "It's fate that you're in this band."
Wow,
He was such a great guy, man.
man, that is crazy.
Yeah.
That is
Yeah,
crazy.
25 years or whatever, 15 years later after, that
Yeah.
whatever it was, Dave Johansen called me. It was like, this is freaky,
So obviously it lasted more than a gig. You did 2 albums or 3 albums? 4. Is there a live
Yeah,
album?
there's 2 live albums. There's the one from Royal Festival Hall with Arthur, which is
Okay.
on DVD. That's called Morrissey Presents The Return of the New York Dolls. Then there is the Pink album, One Day It Will Please Us. Then there's 'Cause I Said So.
Yeah.
Oh, before 'Cause I Said So, we did a live at the Fillmore East.
Okay. Yeah.
And 'Cause I Said So. So 2 live albums, 2 studio albums.
So we have a buddy here in town that played in Sylvain's band a few years ago, and they toured Japan and they did a bunch of dates in the U.S. and he lives 5 minutes from me. So Sylvain, I went to their rehearsal and watched and got to meet Sylvain and hang around. And then when they played shows, I was kind of in the inner circle. So I was getting to know Sylvain a little bit, not like you, but enough to where we would talk and hang out and stuff. And by all accounts, everybody just absolutely loved that guy.
What a guy, man.
What?
Special.
Yeah. Tell me, what's your most vivid memory of Syl? Besides him calling everybody Jackson.
Jackson, yeah. Oh, man. Wow. I'd have to go down a list, man. We wrote songs together. I went to his house. We were his apartment in New York. I have some amazing record, like an half-hour like bossa nova that we were writing together. I recorded it in my phone. I still have it. Just he was such a free spirit, like just a natural. All he did was he was just. You open up the dictionary, look for rock and roll, and there's his picture,
Yeah.
I mean, that's what he was. He wasn't like, not like me, where like I did a little this, a little that. He was just boom, straight down the middle, rock and roll. And but he did love, like French film music, and like he was really eclectic in what he liked. But when it came down to writing songs, he was like, all key of A, boogie,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it had to be sexy. And he's like, it's not sexy enough, and you got to do it for the kids. He was always talking like that. And like the kids are like 60 years old now, Sylvain. I hate to tell you. But and he was such a character with his like mispronunciations of words too. Like he would say the craziest things, like "pace yourself." I'd be drinking, and he'd go, "Hey man, watch out with that alcohol. Pace yourself."
Pretty good.
Stuff like that. I mean, really hilarious.
Yeah. Oh man.
Yeah, and I got him to play on a couple of my, or at least one of my solo tracks on one of my records, which he sings and plays guitar solo on, and I was just the guy. He was a beautiful guy.
Yeah, we should give name to Jason Kotwitz, who was playing with Sylvain.
Was that the guy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What band is he from?
He played. He's got a band now called the Oxys. And in fact, I think little Steven has played him on his show, probably right alongside some of your stuff.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
What band was he in at the time, though, with Syl?
It was called Sylvain and the Sylvains.
Oh, yeah. No, but was he in a part of another band before that? Was he like the Murder City Devils or one of the Red City Rockers?
A bunch.
Some band that he was playing with from Texas, I thought that was
a bunch of stuff around here.
He played in the Bulimics, and then he played with Cheetah Chrome for a while too, and that sort of led to he was in the 2.0 version of the Dead Boys, if you will, and he played with Cheetah when Cheetah was out as a solo artist before he reformed the Dead Boys, and then Jason stayed with him.
They call him Ginchi. They don't call him Jason Kotwitz.
Everybody calls him Ginchi. Yeah,
everybody calls him Ginchi. Ginchi. Gin. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah. You guys are kindred spirits. You would hit it off right away.
Yeah. You guys would.
Yeah.
He's a rock and roll motherfucker. That's for sure.
Yeah.
I was in an Aerosmith tribute band with him for a while, and that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, he's a great player, and all of his influences are right up your alley. So.
Oh yeah.
Oh man.
Because of him, we all here in Austin. Some of us, got to know Sylvain a bit because he was hanging around, and he was just such a charismatic dude, and so much fun to be around. And I was just in awe that I was even sitting in a rehearsal room the size of a walk-in closet watching them run through New York Dolls songs. I was like, I cannot believe I'm sitting here watching this. It's crazy. It was great.
Yeah, that's kind of the first feeling I had, although, I wasn't really a Dolls fan growing up. So it was like, it was a little like, so what, but
wow,
I was aware that I was in the presence of, legends.
Oh, yeah.
Especially when him and Arthur started talking about, remember at Max's Kansas City, when blah, 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 and I'll be like, Max's Kansas City, because I was a kid, looking at we had a magazine called Rock Scene Magazine, and like everybody would be in there, like Thunders and the Heartbreakers and Johansson solo. This was like after the Dolls broke up.
Yeah.
I'd be looking at Max's Kansas City, and there'd be like, the Stooges being there, or Iggy, and, be like, Max's, if I could only get into Max's. I was only like 17 or 16. And, these guys are talking about, we were part of the revolution. And I was like, yes, you were.
Yeah.
Damn it.
So speaking of, were you a fan of Hanoi Rocks before you joined the Michael Monroe band?
Same thing. Never heard a Hanoi Rocks song in my life.
Yeah.
With Michael. I knew Michael's solo stuff because we were on the same label, actually, and so were the Dolls. Company Wolves was on Mercury, New York Dolls was on Mercury, and Michael Monroe was on Mercury.
Yeah.
Mercury poisoning, as Graham Parker put it once. When we signed to Mercury, Company Wolves, we went up and we met everyone at the label, and they pointed us to the supply closet. They said, go ahead, take whatever you want. And we were going through there, and I was like, James Brown box set, and, like Bo Diddley. They had all the Stax boxes and everything. They're like,
Nice.
take some of these, new CDs too. And we're going through them, going, oh, I don't know who this is. Michael Monroe. Who's this? Oh, he's from Henry Rocks. So okay, took
Was
it
that
and
the
really
Dead-
like Dead Jail Rock and Roll.
Dead Jail Rock and Roll, I was going to
And
say, yeah.
that was the song, and
Yeah. I wore that one
that's all I
out.
knew. That's all I knew of Michael
Yeah.
was Dead Jail Rock and Roll, and that Axl was in the video, and then it never really took off.
Yeah.
I had
So you say-
two steps from the move and dead jail or rock and roll. That's about all I had.
Yeah. I think Steve's talking about is the album called Not Faking It? Was
Yeah,
it?
that's
Not
right.
Faking It.
That's
the
right.
one.
That's right.
That's the one.
Tommy
And,
Price played drums on that.
Far
Yeah,
out.
Tony Price is on it.
Some of it.
All my friends were, I didn't know at the time that these friends of mine, Phil Grandy was a guitar player. I knew him from around town, and Joe Cocker he was played with, and who else? Tommy and Jimmy Rip, the other guitar player I've come to know over the past years. He played with Jagger, and he's in television until Tom Verlaine passed. But yeah, there's a lot of it was kind of a Studio Cats album,
Mhm.
Yeah.
because we just played a bunch of the stuff from Not Faking It when we did a show in Japan recently where we did the whole Two Steps from the Move album and the whole Not Faking It album one night.
Oh.
And we did our set after.
That's a gig. That's a gig. I would have known most of the songs.
It was fun, but it's interesting. The difference between playing a Hanoi Rocks song where it was a band
Yeah.
and Not Faking It, where it's a bunch of studio guys with a producer saying, "No, try this sound." There's a big difference in the vibe.
Yeah.
And that's why we only do certain songs from that album because it's kind of slick. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I get
Yeah.
it.
Is it safe
Raw,
to
like
is it
Hanoi.
safe to say that Sammy got you into the Michael Monroe band from your time in the New York Dolls?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's what happened. We were, I find that, these reunion things, they're very interesting at first. Everybody who never saw the Dolls, rushed out to see us the first, I was in the band 6 years. So the first 2 years was everything was sold out all the time. And then it just kind of got a little bit less. And by the end, I needed to work more. I just had a kid and everything. And so Sammy had rekindled his friendship with Michael, and they were working on a little something together. And this is around 2009. And then around 2010, it was just man, the work was really drying up for the Dolls. And Sammy said, "You want to do this with Michael?" And I said, "Sure, I'll check it out." And I went out west and did a few gigs. We actually came to South by Southwest.
I was there. I was
Yeah.
right in front of you. And
Oh,
you brought out Cheetah Chrome.
Oh yeah, we played Silver Spurs. We played
Yeah. Yeah, the Rusty Spur.
Rusty Spurs, right?
And by day that was a gay
gay
cowboy bar. I never set foot in that place, but I was like, if something's going to get me into that bar, it's the Michael Monroe band. And I was already familiar with Ginger at that point, so I went down. And to this day,
You go there all the time now.
I don't even know if it's open anymore. But I will say to this day, it is in the top 5 best gigs I've ever seen. And it was just a daytime bar room, all sweaty rock and roll show. It was so good.
I think we did Ain't Nothing to Do with Cheetah.
That's right. You did.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, that was a blast. We did that, and I think we played Maggie Mays maybe
Yes. Yeah.
up on top.
Yeah. And then you played the Continental Club before you left town.
Oh, okay, right.
Yeah.
Alejandro
Escovedo.
set that up. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Um,
So you got into the Michael Monroe band, and let me also say that I think that you guys have the hottest streak in rock and roll. You've got 5 albums out since Sensory Overdrive, and that was 2011. And that album won award after award after award, and critics top of the list, and all this stuff. That album was amazing, and you followed it consistently with nothing but stellar records ever since. 5 albums in a row, and they're all quality. And you are you're the constant guitar player on all those records, because at first it was you and Ginger, then it was you and Dragon. Now it's been you and Rich Jones. I once did an interview with Michael, and I said, is it safe at this point to say that Steve Conte is your secret weapon? And he said, I don't know if it's a secret, but he is a weapon.
It's pretty good.
So those 5 records, man, I will say it to anyone who will listen and even people that won't. Those are 5 stellar records, and I'm so excited to hear the new one. I know you guys are working on it. But tell me a little bit about, because some of the songs that I like the most are yours.
Which one?
Stained Glass Heart, for example. I thought when I heard that song, if that song would have been sung by Pink, you know, some woman pop artist or whatever, it would have been a smash hit. I mean, it was so good. That is such a great song.
Well, thank you.
And the video is so much fun. And I love the scene in the video where you're being dropped from that thing and you're kind of winking your eye.
And our mouths are like, yeah. It's
Tell me about that video shoot.
They put like a camera right here, and they drop. You know, you go up like I don't know how many feet in the air, but it just drops like boom.
Yeah.
Like, I'm like, no, this camera's gonna capture me like puking or something.
Well, when there's one scene where you're being dropped, and as you're being dropped, you wink your eye.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You watch it more than me.
Oh man, I'm telling you, it's
I gotta go look at it now.
It's ear candy to the max, man. Tell me about that video shoot. You guys shot it in an abandoned amusement park, or
well, it wasn't abandoned because the bride still worked, obviously.
Right. I mean, it was after hours or something.
Yeah, it was after hours. It was it's a place called Linnanmäki in Helsinki. We do most of our videos in Helsinki. We do most of our gigs in Helsinki, in Finland. But yeah, that was done there. Ballad of the Lower East Side was done. Shot at the Slash show and backstage at Tavastia where we play. Yeah, so all of our stuff is done there. But yeah, Stained Glass Heart is a good one. That's a Dragon riff, the very opening riff. And that's all Dragon had. And then I wrote the song off of that. So that's my favorite album, personally.
You're all over that.
Not just because I wrote most of the songs on it, but it was a really creative, like everybody chipped in, and it wasn't like, lately we've had this trend in the band where I bring my songs already finished. Rich brings his songs in already finished. We do demos at home. And that kind of makes it a little too one-dimensional. But this new album, we actually wrote some stuff together, jamming in a room. So this is going to have some fresh sounds on it. But that Horns and Halos album was really good for stuff like that. And Yaffa would bring in a riff that Soul Surrender, he had the riff and words and melodies. It was up to me to make, because everybody was like, oh, Ginger's gone. He wrote most of the songs on the first album. What are we going to do now? And I said, hello.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's
and they didn't know that I could really, they didn't know what I was capable of, So
yeah. And Ginger's a hell of a songwriter. Ginger's a hell of a songwriter. So you stepped up, and you're all over that Horns and Halos record. And Blackout States, I love that record as well. I mean, I love all 5 of them. But there's a song on there, one of the singles was Old King's Road.
Oh, yeah.
I think a lot of people assume that that's Michael's song because it has a lot of references to the old punk scene. And there's like references, maybe not direct references, but maybe indirect references to like Sid Vicious and the whole punk rock scene. But that's all you, isn't it?
I'm smart. I know how to get Michael to sing one of my songs.
Yeah.
Make it about him and make it about Punk 77 and London, and you're in.
Yeah.
Like Ballad of the Lower East Side. Well, it's about New York. People think that's a Michael song, too. That's 100% my song.
Yeah. Yeah.
I live in New York, and I've lived here. He lived here for like 10 years, maybe. I've lived here 40 years, I know what New York was. I know what it is. I know what it's become. I know how it's gone downhill. So, when I wrote Things Are Different Today back in New York, I know what I'm talking about. But, everybody thinks, well, Michael lived on the Hells Angels block, 3rd Street.
Yeah.
So, I included that, and I included all the stuff. So it sounded like it was a song written by him.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which he likes that.
He appreciated it. Yeah.
Yeah.
The other song that has your stamp all over it that is just pure ear candy is Going Down with the Ship. What a tune, man. I mean,
Well,
that
these
song.
are, I must say, Kings Road and Ship are, Kings Road had a bit of Sammy and Rich on the music, but I wrote the lyrics and melody,
Okay.
text and story and everything. And Ship was me and Rich together, but yeah, I had a lot to do with the melody and lyrics on that. But yeah, it's a really good team that we got when we work together,
Where are you on the new album?
I got 6 songs that I'm a part of. About probably 3 are just me and 3 are with the band. So yeah, it's pretty. It's going to be very interesting.
So we've talked. We had Michael on the show, and we talked a little bit about you. The Michael Monroe band was in Texas for South by Southwest, but we can't get you guys over here for a North American tour, and I understand why. But I pitched to Michael, and I've always thought it was odd that Guns N' Roses wouldn't pick you up and bring you over here, considering their longstanding friendship with Michael.
Yeah, who knows why? Because the music business is like, they don't care about friendships. They care about ticket sales.
Sure.
So, they throw us a bone once in a while. Slash puts us on a gig in Finland, or GNR puts us on a gig. Well, we played in Finland, but we also did the new stadium in London, Hotspur Stadium. What is it?
I don't know.
Tottenham Stadium last summer, 2 summers ago. So yeah.
Yeah, I've just always thought that
Cooper. Alice has us open up once or twice. We did actually a tour with Alice, and we did a tour with Motorhead. But
not
Hollywood Vampires. But believe me, I'm always racking my brain trying to figure out why don't they have us out more often? And don't come up with this. We're really fucking good, man.
Yeah, I mean,
maybe I don't know. I'm not gonna say it, but all I'm saying is we're really fucking good.
Yeah. Oh, I know, man. I've seen you guys. You're explosive.
Maybe it's not the right kind of warm up act. You know what I'm saying?
It's my kind of warm up act.
I know.
It's my kind of headlining act.
Warm up act is bringing more energy and craziness than the real act. Then you don't want that.
Yeah. You got to tell us.
Everybody. I'm not saying that's a fact or that everybody.
Sure.
Or anybody even thinks that. That's just me.
Sure.
Well, I think people understand that when there's a package tour and that you just see the poster and it makes you go, just take my money because I worship both bands. There has to be the reason why that's happening if you're in the know as to why so-and-so is supporting so-and-so. But if it's just, a headliner with, they're okay, that's not going to make me buy the ticket. The headliner is, but you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, well, I don't know who's been opening for Cooper or GNR or Slash in the States, but, have a look at those, Google that up and find out and see who those people are. I don't think the bills probably make as much sense as it would to have Michael, but
sure. Right.
But number one, it's expensive to get the band over here because 3 of the guys live in Europe.
Mm-hmm.
1 of the guys live in Canada, and I'm the only one in the States now.
Yeah.
It's a time when me and Sammy lived here, but now Sammy's back in Finland. Rich is in Canada. Carl's in Spain. Michael's in Finland. So, work visas, flights, hotels, people think, oh, you're my favorite band. Come play Nebraska. Oh, yeah, right.
Yeah.
What are we going to do? How are we going to get out to Nebraska once, you pretty much come here, you play the coast, you play New York and LA. And then what happens to the big country in between?
Yeah.
It's a long time to get all the way across in a tour bus, or you got to fly again. And
well, fans don't care if you've spent all of the money made available to you to just get there to play at the
Of
roller
course.
rink. Yeah,
Yeah.
they don't care.
And
They
God
don't wanna
forbid
hear
they
that.
get on a plane and come to Finland where we play every year. I keep telling people, take a trip, man.
Yeah.
Get
Yeah.
out of the fucking U.S. for once in your life,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Stop hanging out in Iowa.
I think that in this new way, in this new world, I think a lot of legacy bands, as well as, I don't know, Metallica, have the type of fan that will make a weekender out of it. They'll fly from LA to Detroit to see a 2-day fiasco crazy Metallica takeover where they go to these parties and they pay thousands of dollars, sure, but they get a VIP and they blah blah blah.
Right.
So why wouldn't you do that for the Dolls, or Michael, or why wouldn't you? It's the same thing to me, and I think that fans are willing to do that now than the ones that are in Omaha going, dude, how come you can't come play my party?
Yeah, my party, right?
So yeah.
You got to tell us you got to tell us the Chuck Berry story.
Oh, I'll tell you the Chuck Berry story. But I'm going to say, if, I can't offer this to everyone, but if either of you guys ever wanted to come over to Finland to see a show, I'll make sure you don't have to pay to get into the festival. I'll comp your ticket.
Wow.
Just buy a plane ticket.
Oh, man.
See?
Right? Yeah.
See, but that's how
Most
that
people,
kind
they
of
think, oh, I got to take a plane, then I got to stay in a hotel, then I got to buy the ticket. But I'm telling you, you hit me up.
That's
and,
Wow.
that's a pretty damn good offer.
Yeah,
So,
man.
we're playing all summer. We're playing, we're opening for Bruce Dickinson actually in Italy. But other than,
That's a great bill. Is it the Mandrake Project? Is that thing he's doing now?
I think so. I'm not really sure, but
Okay.
But we have probably 10 gigs in Finland all summer long. Just look at the
Wow.
website, the Monroe website, and hey,
Wow.
if you feel like you want to have an adventure,
Are you
Yeah.
doing 10 gigs like in a row?
Not
or
in
you
a row, no.
fly over,
It's
you fly
it's like
home,
mostly
you fly.
weekends. It's
Oh,
like
okay, right. Okay.
yeah, we'll play on like a Friday and a Saturday, maybe a Sunday sometimes.
Damn, do you get to use your frequent flyer miles
Hell
to pay?
yeah.
Bet. I bet. Bet. Card carrying member, I bet.
Yeah.
Flying over there
Oh,
so much. Yeah.
Well, thank you for that, man. We might have to take you up on that. That's I don't think we've ever been offered such a generous deal on this show, man. I knew we'd started this podcast for some damn reason.
So we could go to Finland.
Yeah.
Well,
It only took
14 years I've been with Michael now.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
More than twice as long as the Dolls, and it's probably the longest band I've ever been in my life.
Yeah.
That's 20 years for me and Yaffa playing together this year.
wow.
Yeah. So
It makes it kind of meant to be sort of a thing. That's good.
yeah.
You guys
That's
do
great.
great work, man. You guys do great work together.
Yeah.
So tell us the Chuck Berry story. Now, if I understand this correctly, Chuck was playing a show somewhere in your neck of the woods, and Chuck apparently hires a backing band when he plays gigs.
Yep.
And he found out that the backing band, which was your band, had a guitar player, which was you. And he said, I don't need another guitar player. I don't share my stage with another guitar player. I'm the guitar player. But he gave you a chance or something, and then you take it from there. And correct me if I'm wrong.
Well, he said this was at the Meadowlands race. The big stadium had a racetrack where they do horse races, and it was at the racetrack. I don't know how many people it held, 500, 1,000, I have no idea. But I got the gig because the guy who bugled for the horse races was a great jazz trumpet player who played with my mom, who's a jazz singer.
Far out.
And I had worked on gigs with him too. So he was like he was booking all of the entertainment for the racetrack that summer. So when Chuck came through, he said, oh, I know that, Steve and brother John really love Chuck Berry. So he called me up and he said, you want to be the band? I said, hell yeah. We had a blues band called the Hudson River Rats. And But we had a harmonica player, singer. We didn't need him, obviously, but we took the rest of the band. We took the drums, piano, bass, and guitar. And so the promoter picked him up from the airport, and Chuck said, "Who's my band tonight?" He said, "Oh, it's Chuck, great band, the Conte brothers, John on bass, Steve on guitar." He goes, "Guitar? I don't use no other guitar player." And Chuck, "Oh no, don't worry." This guy Frankie said to him, "Don't worry, Steve's really good. He can lay back." Chuck says, "I give him one song. If he ain't happening, I'm gonna throw him off the stage." So they tell me this right before we go on, right? So I'm like, I'm gonna lay way back. But Chuck comes in, comes into the dressing room. We're like, "Oh, Chuck, man, so great to meet you. We love all the records." We're like, we're not worthy. And he gives us instructions. He's like, watch my foot and watch my neck, and and he goes, "And listen to the lyrics. If it wasn't for the lyrics, we'd be playing the same song all night." So we get out there on the stage, and we do a bunch of his classics, probably 4 or 5 tunes, and then he goes into a slow blues. "It Hurts Me Too," you know that one? "When things go wrong with you, it hurts me too."
Mm-hmm.
We do that, and when it comes time it's in the middle, it would have been a time for Chuck to play a solo. He turns to me, gives me a solo. I'm like, I thought he was going to throw me off the stage 5 songs ago. Now he's giving me a solo. So he gives me a solo. I play the solo. He's like, "Can the man play? The man can play. Take another one." Gives me another solo. All right. Then we come back. We do a bunch more Chuck. We do like 5 more Chuck songs. Does another slow blues and does the same thing. Take a solo. Can the man play? Take another one. I'm like, this is like more than I could have hoped for, And then on Johnny Be Good, which is the first solo I ever learned in my life, the first guitar solo at 13 years old, and my father took me to see Chuck at Madison Square Garden when I was 13.
Wow.
Here I am playing Johnny Be Good with him, and as soon as he starts it, he goes, "Ba-da-da-ba-da." His high E string pops. And I'm like, okay, how's he going to play that riff when it gets to the middle?
You can't.
Solo, right? I'm like, I'm waiting. I'm going, oh boy, is this going to be it? And he goes, "Da-na-na-na-na-na-na-na-na-na," and Johnny Be Good points to me. I'm like, I've been waiting my whole life for this moment. And I just played the Johnny Be Good solo that I learned from Chuck when I was 13.
Wow.
And my smile is I got it on videotape. I got the whole thing on video, which one day I will chop up and put songs on YouTube probably, but I haven't done it yet.
Wow.
Man.
But yeah, you can see my smile is so wide, looks like my face is going to crack in half.
Oh my God.
That's a big deal.
It was
What year
incredible.
was that?
1988.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just crazy. That's huge, man. That. If you're a rock and roll guitar player, it just doesn't get better than that right there. I mean, not only playing with him, but taking the solo because he needed help and you saved the day.
Oh yeah. And then after the song, he hands me his guitar. He goes, "Change my string." I was like, okay. And he takes my telly, which I had to, he's huge. He's huge hands. And, he's tall, has a huge long strap. I give him my telly. It's like up to here on. I mean, it's like a violin, And he spends 10 minutes untuning my perfectly tuned telly because his hands are so big, he pulls the strings out of tune when he plays. And he knows just how much to detune the strings to have it be in tune when he actually plays, right?
Yeah.
So then I take his guitar and I restring it and I come back out on the stage and it's like around my knees, because the strap is so long. And his guitar is tuned perfectly. And I give it back to him and he spends another 10 minutes untuning his guitar for his hands, So yeah, it was incredible.
Oh God, man.
That's a serious story, man.
Yeah,
Yeah.
man.
I've told it, in various pieces, but I haven't told you the whole thing. So I'm saving it for my book someday.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. Well, so you've done this with Chuck Berry. You've You've played and collaborated with Eric Burden, Paul Simon. We didn't even get to Billy Squier, and we didn't even spend much time on Company of Wolves. But you've done so much really, really, really cool stuff. Is there anything, what's left on your bucket list?
Bucket list. I mean, besides just making more records on my own and getting my band, my new band out there, and making better and better records and writing better songs for myself. As far as other artists I like to play with, the list is short, but some of them will never happen. Like Paul Westerberg, one of my favorite songwriters, but he's retired. He's not coming out. He's not doing anything. Chrissy Hine and the Pretenders. I'd love to be the guitar player in that band. Robert Plant, would love to play in any of Robert's bands. He's just like a musical treasure.
Yeah.
I would say Rod Stewart because I love his voice, but I don't know what he's up to musically. He's been doing like jazz songbook stuff that I would want to do with him. I'd want to rock out with him.
Yeah.
Pete and Raj, the Who. I'd love to play with them.
Yeah.
They have a second guitar player. I'd love to just be in the shadows and just play the Who songs. Come on.
Yeah.
Sure. We'll never say never.
Or the Kinks, if they ever go on the road again.
Right.
Ray and Dave, they might need another guy.
Right.
On the curtain, I don't care. As long as I get to play Waterloo Sunset and
We'll never say never. You got on stage and you played with Chuck Berry, so anything's possible, I guess.
Sounds like it's kind of my cue. I proudly teach for a corporate company called the School of Rock, and I'm a show director there.
I've done stuff for them. Yeah.
Nice. It's a great company. I've been with them over 19 years now. So I'm directing a the producer Glenn Johns show. So all of the people are on your short bucket list. We're doing songs. We're doing Kinks, Who, First Zeppelin songs, blah, blah, blah. It's going to be great. But yeah, you know who Glenn Johns is because you just rattled off all his peeps.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and his brother Andy.
Yeah, well, of course.
Yeah.
He was the next era, probably, yeah.
Free, I think, and Humble Pie.
We're doing Stone Cold Fever.
Yeah.
So let's touch real quick on Company of Wolves, and then we'll let you go, because it kind of all started there for you as far as a major label and exposure on MTV. And this was 1989. And
he had already played with Chuck Berry, so.
Well, it's true.
Yeah, but nobody knew about it.
Yeah.
The internet wasn't happening yet.
So Company of Wolves, the album comes out, I believe, in 1989? 90. Okay. And we all know that the musical landscape is changing about that time. So what happened to you as far as the band? Was the band kind of lost in the shuffle like so many others? And if so, what lessons did you learn? What did you walk away from that experience with that, helped guide you moving forward?
Timing is everything. Relationships are everything. Having a record company with a president is everything. The president left right after our record came out, so there was nobody, championing it anymore. The guy who signed us, the A&R guy who signed us was still there, but, as far as the timing goes, it was right just a year before grunge. So as soon as Nirvana came out, forget it, man. Nobody wanted anything to do with a rock and roll band. Had to be, detuned, post-punk, messy, flannels and beards and, long shorts and Doc Martens and heroin. Nobody wanted to know about a fun-loving bunch of rock and rollers from New York City. Everybody flocked to Seattle to find the next, Stone Temple Pilots or, you know, Screaming Trees or whoever.
Yeah.
Madonna tried to get Candlebox in there, but
Yeah.
we all knew it wasn't the real thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it was a timing thing, and you know, I mean, when we got signed, I was like, this is it. This is what I've been like, working my whole life towards. My life is totally going to change now, and well, you know, it did, but not in the way I thought it was going to be. You know?
Yeah.
It's almost like the work got harder for you.
Well, you know, and back then there was no DIY aesthetic. You know, if you did a DIY thing, oh, you're a loser because you can't get signed by a major label. You know, that was the thinking. It's none of this, you know, sitting around, you know, making your own flyers and, you know, trying to hand them out. Hey, come to my gig. There's none of that. It was like the major label, the major booking agent. You know, we had CAA in California was our agent, and Larry Mazer was our manager. He managed Kiss. He managed Cinderella. And Mercury was our label. You know, everything was done for us. And, you know, of course, you know, you pay for that in a certain way too. And you know, a lot of stuff went wrong, and because you don't have your hand on the wheel, you know. And I mean, every band I've done since then, I've done 10 times the amount of work, but it's been satisfying because I get to like decide everything. It's not like, oh, you're going to put that single out.
Yeah.
I mean, I couldn't believe when they said they were going to put out Call of the Wild as the first single, and then The Distance was the second single. They were going to try and cross it over onto pop radio, and the timing and everything was so off and weird. And, you know, they didn't have a label president. I mean, people there were really good people. They really liked us. They were behind us, but it was no, you know.
Nobody steering the ship.
I hate to generalize, but you know, that was happening across the board for a lot of class of 88, 89, even
Jason's
90.
debut album came out in 89.
Yeah, my record came out in 89, and
What was that?
Dangerous Toys.
Oh, you were in Dangerous Toys?
Yeah.
Oh, I like that band.
Yeah,
I think
thanks.
we played a show together, didn't we?
Maybe L'Amour's, something like that.
Oh, yeah, I remember you
Maybe.
guys, man. And in fact, I think the girl who ran our street team or support team, as we called it, might have worked with you guys. Did you know Colleen Andrews from Massachusetts?
No, it's not ringing a
Or
bell.
Kristen Andrews? Anyway, yeah, I remember you guys. Yeah, that was the era of that kind of shit. Just throw enough stuff against the wall and see what sticks.
Right.
Oh, we got rock bands with hair. Okay. Let's market them as a hair band. I mean, we were not a hair band. And I'm
Of
sure
course
you guys
not.
either.
Of course not.
But, you know, they were like, well, we can't get you in Rolling Stone and everything because you're not big enough yet. And I was like, well, of course, you know, I don't expect that. But, well, we can't get you anywhere really because, you know, it's all metal magazines and you guys aren't metal. I'm like,
right.
Okay. You know, we were wearing jeans and boots and T-shirts and, you know, we still look pretty rock and roll, but, you know, we didn't have the glam shit going on.
Yeah.
Right.
But,
There was a lot of
hard.
good dirty rock and roll bands that were coming out around that time that from all coasts, you know, Junkyard and Circus of Power and Raging Slab and
Rhino
Bucket, and there was a bunch of Dirty Looks that had already been around for a little while. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
our drummer signed them, Frankie LaRocca.
really,
Drummer Frankie LaRocca was an A&R guy
at Atlantic
Records, and he also signed the Spin Doctors.
Oh, far out.
But
Yeah,
he signed,
Pennsylvania people.
He signed Dirty Looks and Mr. Big and
Wow.
Yeah, a bunch of people.
Wow, crazy.
Wow.
But we weren't so dirty. We were more of a band like, I don't know, I don't want to say we're like Mr. Big because we didn't have all those chops and everything, but you know, we liked our melodies and we liked
that's cool.
soulful singing and you know, we liked Tom Petty and it was kind of Americana. It wasn't like metal, you know.
Yeah.
Right,
We
but
loved our Zeppelin and Cheap Trick and
sure,
AC/DC and
but where do
Stones
you
and-
fit is really where it was at the time as far as climate. Where do you fit?
Yeah.
Because you know, you're not Poison and you're not Bon Jovi, but you're also not Metallica or Nirvana. See my point? It's a gamble.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I know. It was we were a bit of a marketing nightmare.
yeah.
Yeah.
Which I continue that trend up to this day. You know, like every album I make is different. I mean, I have an Americana album, and then I make a punk rock garage album, then I make an Americana album, then I make some kind of combination between the two, and then I make this power pop Brit pop album with Andy Partridge. So you know, I don't know what's next, but
doing doing your own thing, and that's just DIY anyway. So doing your own thing and like putting your whole like world in someone else's hands, and then just going, all right, I'll just wait. No, it's the work is about to get even. That's what I meant a minute ago. It's like the work is finally. You're really gonna have to work hard now. Especially if no one's there to, like, use your word, champion your record you just handed in. So
yeah. Well, Little Steven, right now, in my case, Little Steven champions me because he's the guy who signs me, and he's the one who approves all the songs
nice
on the record, So if he doesn't like a song, it doesn't go on,
Right.
He hears all the songs and, and I mean, that Bronx Cheer record, I was about to go to another label with it, and I called them up and said, "Look, I'm going to take this record around. You want to hear it first?" And they said, "Sure." So I sent it on over, and they went, "Oh, we love it." But Steven said, "Yeah, but you got to change this and this and this." And I went, "Oh man, I just spent like the past year perfecting the sequencing and the cover and everything." I said, "Please just give it another chance." And he listened to it again and he went, "It's fine." So,
yeah.
But, besides championing it as a part of his label, he also plays it on his radio show. Which
Correct.
He's not going to ruin his station with music he doesn't like. So
Sure.
I get it. I get that.
Hey, do you know, are you friendly with Jesse Mallon? Do you know what his current situation is?
Yes. Jesse just texted me the other day. I have been, following along. Sorry, I'm so sweaty in here, man. I had to turn the AC off. So
We're going to let you go in just a minute.
You'll never hear me speak. I've been following along with his progress or what he's trying to do. He's getting these treatments in South America, and I hadn't heard from him. I donated to him and text him once in a while, text him a fun, like, "Hey, remember this photo? Remember this song we did together?" He sings on Gimme Gimme Rockaway and the B-side, Mercedes-Benz. We actually duet on it. And I hadn't heard from him. And then the other day he texted me out of the blue. He's like, "Steve, man, I just heard your latest single on Underground Garage. So great." I was like, "Oh, man, it's so great to hear from him." All Tied Up was the song.
Oh, yeah.
Which is very kind of Americana, which makes sense that Jesse would like that one.
Yeah.
But I don't know what his situation is, if he's getting better or, I know he's a fighter and he is a positive thinker. So
Yeah.
certainly he ain't giving up, and anything he can do to try and overcome the hand he's been dealt.
Yeah.
Fucking drag.
I'm a big fan of his as well, and I figured you might stay in touch and maybe know something. So, for what it's worth, next time you text him, tell him that Texas wishes him well, and we're hoping he gets back on stage where he belongs real soon.
Yeah, hope so too.
Steve, we're going to let you go, man. We've been more than generous with your time today. What a great conversation, man. I so appreciate you joining us. I thank you for all the music, dude. Your riffs and your lyrics have come out of my speakers for years and years and years, and my life is better for it. So thank you. And I might just show up and knock on your door in Finland one day. So
Oh, please do. Please do. And, thank you guys for having me. It was a great chat. It's nice to talk to guys that actually know about music and, have been in bands and had record deals. Like,
We give a shit about rock and roll, and people say it's a dying breed, the last of a dying breed. And it's like, I think they're out there. I just think that they're grown up and have jobs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
It's
every
not-
kid, you know, I mean, I have, you know, two boys and, you know, my 15-year-old, you know, he wants to be in hip hop, you know, or something. He's getting his haircut, you know, like shaved and it fades up, you know, and he's, you know, walking around quoting hip hop songs. I'm like, you know, when he was a little kid before he started going to school and being with his friends and being influenced by that, he listened to nothing but what I listened to, and he loved it. You know, Bo Diddley and the Coasters and Louis Jordan and, like, you know, old blues, Andre Williams, and a lot of black music, a lot of R&B and classic rock and roll, Chuck and Stones and Zeppelin, and, you know, I went through my entire CD collection, A to Z. You know, Q. Okay, here's Queen. You know, I mean, he knew all the stuff, and then, you know, he got with his friends, and I was like, Justin Bieber and, you know, One Direction and Harry Styles, and, you know,
Yeah.
what do you do? You know, but that's the most popular music these days, and, you know,
Yeah.
for kids, and maybe not so lucky for us. You know, everybody can make an album on their laptop and put it up on Spotify and YouTube, and you know, it's kind of leveled the playing field of the music biz, which is good for independent artists like myself. And but, you know, you got to wade through a whole lot of shit. You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
Right, but
so
those
in the old days where the gatekeeper said, "This is what you should listen to," now they shove it down your throat. You know.
Yeah.
Well, it's probably no different than, you know, the babysitter turning me on to Elton John and then the kid across the street playing me Kiss Alive.
Yeah.
But between there was Queen and Bowie and Alice Cooper, and then I see that, and then AC/DC, Judas Priest, and then it just Thin Lizzy, UFO, and the whole nine, and then. But see, that feels more or less trendy than going, well, these guys look cool, I want to hang out with you, but you can't hang out with them unless you wear a Justin Bieber t-shirt. It's just a different key to get into the kingdom, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know, but
Hopefully it's just a phase, Steve. Hopefully it's just a phase.
That's what they always say, Dad.
the phase is going on for a pretty long time now.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
But
yeah.
you know, I mean, I have nothing against hip hop. You know,
Sure.
I mean, I got some hip hop albums that I love.
Sure,
You know,
me too.
D'Angelo, and, you know, I think D'Angelo is brilliant. And
Yeah, a good song is a good song, and you know that.
Yeah.
you know, I mean, guys that can. I prefer singing to talking. You know,
Yeah,
and
of
rapping.
course.
Although, you know, there's some great rhymes. I'm entertained by some rhymes are really great. You know, and Beastie Boys I love. You know, loved.
That's
But,
pretty much classic rock now.
Yeah, I know. But you know, I just don't like stuff that's made by a machine. You know, and now with fucking
not.
AI, man, it's going to get even worse. You know, there's like
Man.
people are writing songs with AI and like having it's just got no soul. You know, no human
Yeah.
feel
Yeah.
to it. You know?
Yeah, synthetic thought. That's what I call it.
But, you know, it'll probably get more intelligent, which will be really scary to see how it develops over the years. But I don't know. It's nothing like, you know, somebody's
the
personal experience, you know?
Yeah.
Yes.
The new Freddie Mercury record will be out any day now.
Oh, yeah.
And the
heard
video.
I've heard some crazy AI stuff. Like, did you hear the, what was it called? It was Oasis, but
Wow.
AISIS or something like that they called it.
Haven't heard that.
Where they took this band who had a bunch of songs. It was like an unknown band, but they were pretty good. They opted to take their singer's voice off it and do an AI version of Liam Gallagher. Not Liam. No, yeah, Liam. Liam's the singer.
Yeah.
Yeah, they they did an AI version of Liam singing on these songs, and it sounds like freaking great Oasis record.
Wow.
Not great. It's not as good as Oasis, of course, but
Right. But
it was freaky. It was like one of the first AI things I heard. It was like a year and a half ago it came out. Check it out. It's on YouTube.
Scary.
But, you know,
yeah, I don't know, man. That's a horror show to me, man.
Yeah. Yeah, well, keep doing what you're doing.
Yeah,
and
why don't you
keep doing what you're doing with Michael Monroe.
keep banging on wood and wire, man. That's what we want.
Yeah, that's all I can do. And,
Yeah.
And keep writing those lyrics and rhyming those crazy words, man.
Were you the singer in Dangerous Toys?
Yeah, that's right.
No, right on.
We still play. We got some summer shows coming up. So
Is the back room still there?
no. It closed down 10 years ago, I'm guessing, and some friends of ours just made a
Documentary
about the place called the Bloody and Bruised: The Untold Story of the Back Room.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah,
I saw Stray Cats there in '89 when we were recording.
Dude, I saw so much good shit there, man. I saw Nazareth and Cheap Trick and the Ramones, and just keep going. It's crazy, dude.
Yeah, that documentary is currently on the film festival circuit. So
That's
I don't know
right.
if it's going to make its way out to you or not.
Just announced. So
yeah, it's called Bloody and Bruised: The
Came out
Untold
good.
Story of the Back Room.
Oh, I'll see it that for sure.
And by the way, Steve, we were talking about Dirty Looks earlier. Jason has been doing some one-off gigs fronting Dirty Looks up in the Pennsylvania area because, of course, Henrik is no longer with us. But
yes, turn up the screw.
Yeah, man.
Screwing you.
One of my favorites.
But I do remember Turn Up the Screw.
Yeah.
That was the album, I think, title too, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was the title track, and the one before that was Cool from the Wire.
From the Wire. Yeah, man.
Frankie signed them. We used to, see Henrik and all those guys around we all hung around at the Atlantic Records office, and we had no money. We'd go, oh, can we go in the break room and steal a coffee and a muffin?
Of course.
Today,
You hadn't eaten in a couple days.
Yeah.
Get it. Steve, it was awesome hanging with you, man.
All right, brother.
Yeah, man.
Thank you so
much, dude.
Let's do it again sometime, I hope.
Yeah, absolutely, Steve. Thank you for your time. On behalf of my co-host, Jason McMaster, I'm Metal Dave, along with our special guest today, Steve Conte, on the Talk Louder podcast.